What up, everyone? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast, week of July 4th, coming to you in a guest room from my in-laws' house today. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by HelloFresh. I love HelloFresh because I love to cook, but everything else around cooking is kind of annoying. Just like I love cars, but dealing with the cars is kind of annoying, right? So with HelloFresh, you can choose from 55 or more weekly options, pre-portioned high-quality ingredients picked at peak ripeness. You choose the things you want to make. HelloFresh sends you the fresh ingredients in exactly the right quantities to your door, and then you cook them at home. The recipes are easy to read, the meals take less than 45 minutes to make, and you don't have a whole bunch of food waste because they send you exactly the right amount of stuff. This week, it's the Taste of Summer series, sure to become everyone's new favorite, like Old Bay shrimp and sausage boil and the family-style grilled steak lettuce wraps. Yum! Skip the grocery store and spend more time soaking up the summer sun. HelloFresh Market is a one-stop shop for all of your mealtime needs with quick breakfasts, lunches, snacks, dinners, desserts, and more. Going away this summer? Update your delivery address and enjoy HelloFresh at your vacation destination with just a click. The plans are flexible, so they work with you and your changing schedule. The recipes are foolproof, step-by-step, and mean a joyful cooking experience and a stress-free summer. Plus, HelloFresh cuts back on time spent in the kitchen, time at the market. It is the best. HelloFresh saves you money. It's 72% cheaper than dining at a restaurant and even cheaper than grocery shopping, too. Plus, like I said, no food waste because they give you exactly the right amount of supplies for what you need. I've made a bunch of meals from HelloFresh, and they're really tasty. I like them. I like the chef's choice ones. I haven't gone for like the vegan ones yet because I like meats, but they are great. And it really gets me cooking without a lot of the wasted time and headaches of having to go to the store, figuring out what to make. And it helps me make new stuff that I wouldn't otherwise make because the ingredients are all right there. It makes it very easy. So go to HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16 and then use code SmokingTire16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16, code SmokingTire16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh is the jam. Check it out, kids. Also brought to you today in part by Masterworks. Zack and I got some Masterworks shares. It's the platform for investing in contemporary blue chip art. Blue chip art means art by people you've heard of even if you don't know that much about art, right? Like Picasso, Banksy, Basquiat, Monet, Warhol, that kind of stuff that normally only the super, super rich billionaires get to buy. Billionaires have been quietly diversifying their portfolios with art for years, beating the stock market, beating other investments, and now Masterworks allows regular folks like me and you in that game as well, democratizing the art market by allowing anyone to buy and sell fractional shares in high-value works of art. Masterworks buys the art, files it with the SEC as a public offering, and then members buy and sell shares, right? And then when Masterworks sells the art, they distribute the return to the investors. They sold 3 paintings since 2017, each earning over a 30% net IRR to investors. It's pretty cool, actually. I made an account, and I bought some shares in a Banksy. It was easy, it was quick, and I can't wait to get paid. The art market performs better during periods of inflation than other traditional investments, and it's pretty cool, actually. 2/3 of billionaires allocate 10 to 30% of their portfolio to art. So you can get in this game too. My friends at Masterworks are giving my viewers priority access to skip the wait list. Go to masterworks.com and use promo code TIRE. That's masterworks.com, promo code TIRE. And check out the important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.io/CD, right? Go to masterworks.com/tire, skip the line, check it out. I'm in the game, and you can be too. We're also brought to you in part today by our favorite folks in the world, Off the Record. These guys help you exit the economy that is speeding tickets, because it's not just tickets. It's insurance, too. You get busted doing something that would be considered totally normal on the road every day, going a couple miles an hour over, and you're now in this ecosystem of fines, insurance, rate hikes, court costs, and all kinds of stuff. Don't plead guilty. Hit up Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app and use code TST10 on the app. We'll give you 10% off all your legal services for 3 years. At Off the Record, right? Offtherecord.com/TST or code TST10 on the Off the Record app. We need to save you 10% on any services you book through Off the Record, from basic speeding tickets all the way up to DUIs and more egregious violations. You still don't want to plead guilty to that kind of stuff. I'm certainly not pro-egregious violation by any means, but that doesn't mean if you get stopped, if you get busted, that you should just plead guilty and roll over and die. No, use Off the Record anywhere in America. Off the Record covers 97% of the population of the U.S. Chances are they will cover you. And if they don't get the points off your record, money back guarantee, folks. Offtherecord.com/TST or code TST10 on the Off the Record app. And I hope you all are having a great 4th of July weekend. Be safe out there, folks. Be safe with Off the Record. All right. On this show, we are wrapping up our coverage of the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. We've got a few drivers to interview down at the start line, and then we're going to bring it back to the studio afterwards and wrap up the coverage of the race, talk about the results, the race itself, how it all went on the Smoking Tire podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the studio. Spent the last week in Colorado Springs for Pikes Peak. It was rad. And before we got out of there, we enjoyed the race. We recorded 3 podcasts there. The first is up now, was interviews with drivers on practice day, as well as watching some practice from the Glen Cove pit area. The next show that will be up, well, by the time most of you hear this, but for if you're watching live tomorrow, is an interview with Reese, Millen and Joey Seeley about their strategy, and they're going for the to go sub 9 minutes in the race. Also, we got to go with Acura factory driver James Robinson, right? Mm-hmm. James Correct. Robinson, yeah. He showed us how to drive his line, how to really go up the hill. I recommend maybe watching that one, the video version of that one, as opposed to just the audio, because he's pointing things out. It's probably still enjoyable from a radio-only perspective, but it's probably helpful if you watch video. Yeah. And then we recorded some interviews in the pits, and we attended the race itself, which had some very adverse weather conditions. There was rain, there was fog, there was very low visibility. It was suboptimal. And what we're going to do now is throw it to the pits with our F-150 Lightning mobile podcast studio. We're going to talk to David Donner, who's racing a 992 Turbo S, almost stock. We're going to talk to Bimmerworld driver James Clay. We talk a little bit to Johnny and Jeff again. And who else did we get in there?
Musto.
Mike Musto was in attendance, our old pal Musto. And we're going to go chat with those guys back in Colorado Springs the day of the race. And then we'll come back to the studio and talk about the actual race results and what happened on the hill. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Let's go to Colorado Springs. Morning, everybody. We're in the pits. We got David Donner, with whom we are sharing a pit stall today.
Yes.
And in the interest of cooperation, we've made sure that you get to tell your story. No, I'm kidding.
Beginning.
No, you have a really interesting story, because you're going for a. Although, with the wet roads, there may not be any record setting today, but you're racing a completely stock 911 Turbo S with a cage.
Right.
Tell me about your mission, David.
So this is a 22 Porsche Turbo S, as you mentioned, 992. And, it's full production. You can make a few changes, mainly safety, full roll cage.
It's just a cage and a seat, basically,
a cage
right?
and a fuel cell.
Oh, a fuel cell.
And the exhaust is open, but, no muffler. But It's stock. You can't modify anything else. So it's what our mission was to set the production car record, which currently Bentley holds with Reese Millen, and Reese broke my old record. So,
but wait, this is a different, because we just talked to Reese and last year or the year before, he was in a Bentley race car. Did that count?
No, that was the race car. There was a year before that.
Before that,
he was
in a GT Speed or something.
Yeah, not the SUV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he went at 10:18, which is fast. So our mission is to break that. Like you just said, with the road conditions, that's questionable.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
You just came back from the drivers' meeting. The weather's been not looking great all day, but what's the latest on weather?
Well, the latest is that there is no ice on top, so they're looking at a full course run, which that's huge.
That's the first.
So the potential's still there.
Yeah.
So that is about 39 degrees, which is that's normal. That's warm actually for the top. It's 55 about halfway, and medium conditions. Wet and spots. It's wetter down below at the lower part, but. At this point, it's one of those things, you just drive it as you see it. The car's got way too much power to... I mean, if you stand on it, it'll light them all four up.
Yeah,
so,
in the wet,
yeah,
certainly.
So I'm going to have to feel that out.
What kind of tires are you guys using?
So we're going with... I don't know yet. That's why there's no tires on the car.
Oh, but you have a choice.
I have a choice.
Yeah,
we
have a choice.
We have sort of a... Well, they have to be DOT. So
right, no, but it's not like it requires you to run a certain tire.
No, so we have a sort of a track tire that's DOT legal. That works great with good conditions, dry conditions, and then we have another rain tire that's heavy tread, much slower, but be safer.
But it'll keep you on the road.
So we're flipping that coin any minute now.
What time of day are you running? Do you know?
So this race starts at 7:30. So we probably have we're the last exhibition car.
Okay.
So we probably have over an hour. So I didn't finish on the weather thing. They said there's a window up till 11 or 12, and then she's letting loose.
Ooh, okay.
And it's gonna be bad. All right.
With loose conditions, there could be some offs, which cause delays.
Yeah.
In the years you've done this, how much has that weather window played a factor? Like, is everyone nervous going, I hope I get the sunny spot?
Yeah, I mean, typically it's Colorado in the summer, so you get, without this front, you would normally get a weather after lunch, say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, the thunderstorms start building, and maybe a little sprinkle, but it's a little bit of a gamble.
If you run in the years where it's, let's say, nicer weather, if you ran first, is it too cold? Like, do you want like a 9 a.m. start?
Yeah, you want a little bit of road temperature, because otherwise it just pulls it right out of the tires. That's optimal, but you know what? You kind of get whatever you're given or dealt.
In the past, you've driven a variety of different cars here.
Right.
How does this, but basically bone stock Turbo S compare to that stuff in terms of performance?
Well, I guess the biggest advantage for me is that I've never raced a all-wheel drive car. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's with 156 turns, and many of them are switchbacks, hairpins at 30 miles an hour. All-wheel drive feels a lot quicker coming out.
Yeah.
And if it's slick like this, it'll really hook up.
Yeah.
And also, I have, I guess I call the aids, the nanny controls off, so I can feel it with my foot.
Yeah.
I might leave stability control on just to watch.
And you could change it in the middle of the run if you want.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think the all-wheel drive is big. The four-wheel steering is big because
in the hairpins,
the car
oh my God, what a
rotates
difference.
so well. You're not fighting it. I think it's. I don't want to give all the good things.
How quickly
did you
How quickly did you adjust to an all-wheel drive car?
Well, you kind of, as they say, it's going where it's pointed. So be aware. but in practice, I know in the dry, I mean, I had some nice four-wheel drifts where you could stay in the power and it just launched. So I mean, it's a cool feeling when you get through the corner right and.
These cars are so fast.
They're so fast. The power is extraordinary. I mean, I ran a GT2 RS Club Sport, which there are a couple in the race this year, 2 years ago, and actually I won, and it still has the record. And this car is only a few seconds off that car's times.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a street car.
It's not a street car,
not a factory race car.
Technology improves things, and and I'm pushing it hard. I mean, it's not like it's doing it by itself.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's a really fun car.
Are there
to drive.
any other? This race is about time necessarily. It's not necessarily about position,
right?
Especially for what you're doing. It's you versus the mountain and a stopwatch.
Totally.
So, are there any other totally stock cars that are running?
No, there is an Acura, an NSX.
Oh, the NSX guys, yeah.
But he's got a little bit of a variation. He's not going for the same record as us, so I think he's running slicks.
Yeah.
Randy Pope's in the Tesla.
Oh, that thing has a park bench on the back.
That thing is whacked out. But I mean, that's the closest thing. But there's really nothing stock. Oh, there's a Shelby right next to us.
Oh yeah, there is.
Right. Yeah. So
okay,
he leaves the line and the tires don't hook up for
that
like half a mile.
That is gotta be a difficult. Is it a 500?
Yeah.
It's
that's
going
to be a tough car to drive on this mountain. I mean,
it's a beast.
It's fast, but that's a big car.
Oh, it is.
Rear wheel drive. I mean, that's a tough car to drive.
But to have the Porsche do what it's done to this point is incredible. I mean, I am truly impressed.
The technologies in this car lend themselves to canyon speed really well.
It does.
Yeah.
It's got the ceramic brakes, which, the brake pedal feels a little different to me because it's electronic.
Yeah.
It's like by wire. So that's interesting. So the brake pressure is different than a race car. So I've had to adapt to that. I got to have sort of ballet feet. It doesn't like, excuse me, quick movements. You have to be delicate with it.
What's your favorite section of the course?
I like the lower section.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, the W's are fun. They're challenging. The top's kind of fast and scary with big drop-offs and blind
bumpy,
corners.
Really bumpy.
And bumpy. And it basically wants to just throw you off the mountain. So it's like a bull, riding a bull.
Yeah.
And you just want to get through the session.
Yeah.
The lower section seems almost closest to a road course. Like
it's a road course. It's got super flow. You're just in a rhythm, and it's just over before you know it. You just fly. So I like that. But you just sort of put it all together like a puzzle. I look at it as 3 pieces. I take a deep breath after every session or a section, and then the goal is to get to the top. So if you're not getting to the top, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Even if you're slow, you got to get to the top.
Of course. I want to ask you something completely random. It has very little to do with racing, but Zach and I were at dinner last night discussing the O2 onboard stickers on the cars. So you run the little oxygen going into the helmet, or is that just in case?
No, I run it. I'm from Colorado. I live at 6,000 feet, so I don't necessarily need it. But I've measured my blood oxygen level.
Yeah.
And it does stay higher if you use oxygen. It stays in the higher 90s because you get a little winded.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound like you would, even if you're in shape. You get a little winded on a run.
Yeah,
it's
adrenaline.
It's a very light flow. I have it going through my helmet. I don't like wearing the nose thing.
Oh, so it just pumps it right into the helmet?
Yeah, pumps it in the helmet.
Oh, nice.
Is it optional or required?
It's optional.
It's optional. Totally.
Yeah, recommended. But it's on a regulator, and you can do a light flow. So that's just,
Jeff's brought the dog.
Oh, my gosh. The Bernese Mountain Dog.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you, sir? Thanks, David. We really appreciate
guys.
you sharing not only your time but your pit stall with us here.
It's great to have you here.
And,
thanks you let us in on this. So.
This is a
we're
great
happy
thing.
to have you in with your frunk.
It's awesome, right?
And I'm glad we get to have a race.
Yeah,
first off,
right.
I mean that was up in the air, and
totally.
And I hope we see a record broken. If you do it in the wet, that would be crazy.
Well,
they'd sell not a lot of 992 Turbo S's if you do it in the wet.
That's asking a lot, but I'm just going to drive it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So
we'll see you on the way back down.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Very much, David.
Appreciate it.
Be safe
David Donner. We'll keep it moving at the start line of Pikes Peak. Mike Musto in the house. How many times you been to Pikes Peak, Musto?
This is my first time to Pikes Peak, ever.
And you didn't call us.
Dude, no, I didn't tell anybody. I was like, I'm just showing up.
Get your mic a little closer.
I'm not working. All I want to do is experience it, and
you're like an old ninja. You're
that's
like,
it. Just
show up.
stealth mode, man.
Purely chilling.
Yeah.
Well, what are you liking so far? What are you seeing?
I mean, I was overwhelmed. Like when we did FanFest, I didn't expect like 35,000 people.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was like 10 blocks.
Yeah. But I mean, I will not miss this again. I really like it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a good combination of like very hardcore professionals and like grassroots home built sketchiness. Like there's some real sketchy builds here.
We were walking around in the pits before, and you look at some of the stuff and you're like, you're going to drive that at speed on a cliff with no rails? Like, is that smart?
Yeah, you should see how some of these things get out of the hole. I mean, like some of these home-built cars that are just tubes and a twin-turbo V8, I mean, they squat and get squirrely as hell.
It's really nuts.
And it's really,
they just
really
kept the
wild.
dirt car and then just put street
Well, it's
tires
like, I've
on
used
it.
this comparison, but it's like a bunch of plumbing equipment with 900 horsepower attached to it. You're like,
Well, one of
yeah.
the sketchiest looking cars that we've seen, they told us the story of it, which is that the guy driving it used to race motorcycles here until they said no more.
Yeah.
And so this is, the next riskiest thing you could possibly do.
What I like about it is you have privateers, you have professional teams, you have everything, and it's so different from any other event.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah, so we got to ride up the mountain yesterday with James Robinson, who races for Acura, and I was just asking like how the vibe is here for him, and he said it doesn't feel like road racing because no one feels serious. He's like, people aren't assholes. No one's trying to like.
Well, that's that. We'll try.
Pause. It's got a grassroots feel to it. Everyone's kind of in it together because they're not like wheel-to-wheel racing. You know? And it's so dangerous that there's like a camaraderie about it.
Yeah.
So they just fired up the 992 Turbo S next to us. Mm-hmm. It's stock, but it don't sound it.
No.
We'll have to evaluate later if this is usable audio.
Yeah, this might not be for.
I mean, we are at a paddock. What do we expect, really?
Yeah.
But you're over hanging out with the Bilstein guys.
Yep. And
they've got a wide body Hellcat Charger.
Yep. Wesley Motorsports built it's a wide body red eye Charger, about 900 horsepower, fully done up, fully caged, about 4,500 pounds.
That is the worst possible choice I could think of for a race like this.
You know what?
You haven't even been up the mountain.
No.
One of the things that you observe very quickly about Pikes Peak is that teams, they don't do trailers. They do rollbacks.
Yeah.
They do these really short tow vehicles because of the hairpins. Yeah. And your wheelbase really matters here.
You know what, dude?
Oversteer, that solves that problem.
So Kevin Wesley, who built the car, he's been running this since 2016, started off in ACR Vipers, and I've seen him wheel these cars. I think everybody that watches him wheel a car like that, this Charger, they'll be like, oh my God. But is it large? Yeah, I mean,
it'll be all right though.
It's large.
That car could drive the route normally.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it can.
It's
just not. It seems like you're digging a hole to dig yourself out of a little bit.
He's next to the factory Shelby team, the GT500.
They're not having it much easier.
He's 45 seconds faster.
That's a lot.
Wow. Oh, that's
some of the differentials that we hear. Yeah. We were talking to Jonny Lieberman here. He's in the Porsche, the Pikes Peak Trophy, which is basically spec Cayman GT4. Yep. And our friend Cam Ingram from Road Scholars has a lot of experience racing those cars. Yeah. And also a lot of experience here.
Sure.
And Johnny's a rookie, and they're in the same car, and the sector time, which is a third of the course. The other day, Cam was 21 seconds faster than Johnny.
Wow.
And I'm not, Johnny told me, I'm not trying to crap on Johnny. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
And Cam is very fast and owns his own car, knows his car.
And races that car
wheel to wheel. And so he has a lot of experience, but 21 seconds in the same car on a third of,
that's
of the
lot.
circuit. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a bit, there can be a pretty big spread with experience and on top of your choice of car. What they just fired up is this open wheel.
That thing is,
It looks like an Indy car.
Look how many, that has 5 wings on the wing.
Look at the tires on it. It almost looks like it's got dirt tires in the front and rain tires on the back.
I think they use those to move it on and off the trailer because it's so low. Otherwise, they have not let go of the dirt days. Because that would be a terrible tire choice.
No, there's cars that are just deeply death trappy here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a different breed of people that races. Like, I don't know if I could race this.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I don't, like...
I would do it when I'm 50 and I have lots of years of, other racing under my belt.
Well, I am 50, and I still don't know if I do it, only because I want to make it to 51.
You're a lot more responsible than I am.
If I put myself in Johnny's shoes, imagine, training in the sim, training in the car the track day, having beautiful sunny days for practice,
and then
getting here, and it's a thick fog, it's slippery wet, and possibly freezing on the top.
Yeah.
And you just go, well, I haven't trained for any of that. I might as well have not done anything.
It's not in the book.
You know,
It's in the book.
It's like playing ice hockey with sneakers.
Yeah.
You're like, this isn't going to work.
I didn't practice this part. Shit.
That is fair. Yeah, that's very fair.
I mean, it's cool, though. I mean, it's.
But that's why I think it's important, for me at least, to have other racing experience, because maybe you have racing in the rain experience.
Yeah.
If you came here and this is like your first, I don't know if
Johnny lives in L.A. He don't race in the rain.
No. There's no rain.
He's done some lemons and some other stuff, but this is a big jump.
This is a big jump, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like we have a lot of fast canyon driving experience, so that helps in part.
Yeah.
But in terms of managing, bumps in the road and that kind of stuff, but it's another level, man. It's another level.
The more I look at these drivers and you watch the videos and stuff like this, I remember Brock Yates Jr. had a quote one time. He's like, I look at my skill and like I think I'm competent on a racetrack, and you compare it at a 1 out of 10 and you see what a 10 driver can really do, and then you go back and you're like, well, I'm a 3.
Yeah.
Like I'm a hard maybe 2.75.
Yeah.
100%.
It just puts everything in perspective.
Well, and that's Ken Block was gonna, his car broke.
Yeah.
And, okay, but he was gonna. He raced here in a Subaru in the 90s or early 2000s when it was all dirt.
Yep.
And he was gonna run up the hill. And Ken is an excellent driver, no question. He was gonna run up this hill in this fucking gnarly, untested, freshly built car.
Yep.
And then we went to interview Reese, Millen, and Joey. And Reese has raced here 26 times. And people were putting pressure on Ken to beat Reese. And you after talking with both of them, you go, well, that was never going to happen.
No.
It just could. The math wasn't there.
He was putting Steven Seagal against like
anyone who
Brock
actually
Lesnar
does martial
or
arts.
something like that. It wasn't a fair showdown. Yeah.
No, but now that Zach and I know what to do, because I had never been here before. I didn't know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
So now we actually can have a bit of a better plan for next time, for where to be and when to get places, how to not spend 2 hours this morning sitting in traffic.
Well, so coming up, there was the 2 lines of traffic, right? There was the one line on the left that everybody was stopped in.
Yeah.
You in that? Because the right lane was completely open.
And then did you just dive in?
Yeah. We went right into the right lane. Went past everybody.
I don't think you're supposed to do that.
No, we did it.
You made a U-turn?
Yeah. Got to the light, did the Jersey slide, right over into the left lane.
Yeah,
probably saved about an hour.
Well, yeah, I mean, all right. I mean, you're not supposed to do that, but okay.
No, I was that guy.
No,
I'm fine.
It was we got my life in LA primed me for taking 2 hours to go 16 miles this morning.
Well, it turned out like Pete Stout. He said they left at 2:30 in the morning and they only got it here 15 minutes before us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So actually we had the right decision.
Yeah,
you guys
right.
parked, like you're in the upper line, right?
Well,
we parked down and walked a mile up.
You know what's supposed to be here? The Huna Pegasus. We're in Ken's spot, dude. Well, I wish Ken was here.
Yeah.
It's not cool that he's not.
But I was like, how'd you guys get the pit spot?
Tim, after some drinks, he was like, he offered his parking spot. He's like, email the guy. I'll give you the spot.
We got Batim drunk. And he goes, Batim got Batim drunk. Yeah. And he goes, I'm going to give you my spot.
Okay.
Yeah. And I go, okay. And he pulls out his phone with an email pulled up. He goes, tell this person I'm giving you his spot. I typed the email to the guy, and it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Because otherwise, it's very expensive to park in the pit for media.
Yeah, no. Yeah. We got this spot out of luck, not because we're cool or prepared or anything.
But you got it. That's all that matters here.
Oh, we're here now.
This is rad.
It's all about seizing those moments, baby.
Dude.
All the important moments happen at the bar at Pikes Peak.
Is it like opportunity, preparedness, meet, and that's where you get something? That's how you get a parking spot.
Yeah, totally.
I was sober enough to type a coherent email, and Batim was not sober enough to not offer.
So when are you guys leaving? Are you leaving tonight? Are you leaving tomorrow?
Tonight. We're going to have to figure out how to get out of here and make a flight.
What time's your flight?
7:40.
That's the same. Where are you flying out of?
Denver.
Oh, we're doing the same thing, flying out of Denver.
Yeah. You want to ride?
Yeah, no, I got a Toyota.
Oh. How unfortunate.
Rental 4Runner.
All right, well, the race is going to start in 7 minutes.
All right.
We're going to try and get some drivers before they go off. We just saw Paul Girard. He's going to come do a few minutes of radio with us.
Cool.
He's driving a very gnarly-looking car with no traction control, full Le Mans brakes, 1,200 horsepower.
Terrifying.
And it weighs 2,200 pounds.
It's like the Valkyrie.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Musto can read his work at Hemmings. He's going to be wandering. He's going to be doing some fun things with his Daytona. And, Mopar Nation, baby.
When the Daytona's done, you and Zach have to be the first two to review it.
Okay. Yep.
Because
sir.
you reviewed it first. You were the first one to ever review that car 15 years ago.
2011.
Yep. So you have to review it second generation,
For
first
sure.
one.
For sure. All right. Next in the booth. 2 for 1. Jonny Lieberman's going up in 8 to 10 minutes.
No, but I just got to get back over there.
Oh, okay,
They're going to
cool.
start giving us instructions. I go after the exhibition class.
Oh, nice.
So, but Randy hasn't rolled out yet, so he's kind of I can see him from my pit.
The rain is slowing things down a little bit. And we got James Clay from Bimmerworld. Bimmerworld. I don't know why I couldn't pronounce that properly.
I like that.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me here.
His car is bananas.
Yeah.
This E36 with a twin-turbo V8 in it. Out of a current M5, right? Or that one gen back?
Previous gen M5, yeah.
Dude, so much aero.
So let me ask you, what's it like to have power up here?
How much power do you have?
We calculate about 1250 at the wheels based on our boost.
Whoa.
1250.
1250 top to bottom.
At the wheels.
At the wheels.
Oh my
At
God.
the wheels, I have probably under 200 at the top. Scott Evans, where he was, he calculated 252 horsepower at the peak.
Yes.
Assuming everything's, going well.
So I did that before. I did an NA car before this, and be careful what you ask for. Because the first time I showed up, we did all our testing on this like stock motor. There was like 800 horse at the crank. And so back that down for the mountain, but we didn't. So the first time I was on the big motor was on the mountain. And the first day, you wake up at 3 o'clock, 3:30, coffee, how am I going to get myself going? Well, 1,200 horsepower kicking into your back really kind of gets you going in the morning.
We saw you practicing at Glen Cove 2 days ago on Friday, and that thing gets out of the hole hard. It was squirrely as a motherfucker in first gear. How do you keep the power down? Do you have any electronic traction aids?
It's an E36, so late 90s car, but we've got all the goodies. So we have Bosch Motorsport ECU, traction control. We've got Bosch ABS. We've got, all the things. So, yeah, and...
Does it smell like crayons? That's the most important
Of course
thing.
it does. Of course it does.
They all do.
So it's still an E36 then. All right.
Yeah,
Do you have
E36.
wet tires?
I have wet tires, I have dry tires, and the boys hand grooved some intermediate Hoosiers yesterday, so I think we've got the whole menu, which then of course means you have to pick which one you want.
So our
Johnny doesn't get to choose.
well, our strategy is you literally write the word rain on the existing tire, and that converts it magically to a rain
Hey,
tire.
rain tires.
Yeah, I was talking to Yokohama, like, you know what? You guys probably make a rain version of this, huh? You're a big company. You got a big trailer. Like, how about
How about
6 sets?
sharing the wealth?
And
a
they're
little
like,
bit?
literally, that's a good idea.
Maybe next year.
I'm like,
hadn't
you've
thought
done
of that.
Pikes before, right? Yeah.
How many times have you done this event?
This will be my fourth time.
Fourth time. Okay.
And how were the conditions in the previous 3?
So first 2 conditions were awesome. We ran to the top. We, I got my run in before it went to shit in the first year. Same in the second year. Last year was the first time with this car on the mountain, and we only ran to Devil's Playground. So that was kind of the shortened race, and same. It's like deja vu. You walk into this day, and it's like the same thing over again. It's snow. It's whatever.
So
And
was practice perfect before last year? All the
we got rain one day in practice, and so I'll run in the rain today, obviously. But in practice last year, you look at that and you're like, well, no, I'm not going to risk the car in the rain. Why would I do that?
because I had 7 days of literally perfect weather. We had fog for one run. It burned off by 6 a.m. up top.
We were talking to David Donner,
Yeah.
and I was like, imagine being your first year here, all the sim time you put in, all the track time, all the practice runs, and then it's like you can't see, it's wet, it's cold. You're like, I didn't practice for any of this.
Did you ever turn weather on the sim when you were training?
No, in fact, the sim comes pre-programmed for like a slightly colder asphalt,
Okay.
and it's annoying because you get cold tires on a sim. You're crashing anyways because I hate sims. So I'm like, let's make the temperature 80 degrees,
Yeah.
and I'm on slicks on the sim. So no, I have no reference points. Yeah.
Yeah, James, your background is more road racing, right? Standard tracks. Don't worry, this will be fine, even with the 992 running. How do you prepare to come up here?
So under normal conditions in the dry, it's road course stuff. You just make sure you build a platform and then build progressively. Unfortunately in the rain today, you got to be safe. Like there's no time for making it to like 2 corners before the end. You got to make it to the end. So
Are you going to turn your power down?
No, I'm not. Because I have traction control and I have a right foot that still works pretty well.
Okay.
And if I want the power, I want it there. I'm going to hold it flat. We're going to be going fast. It's just we got to be careful some places.
Do you use this car for anything besides this? Do you road race this car at all?
No, this car was purpose built for this.
Well, used it as a combine to pick up corn in the summertime.
Right. We help the municipality to, in the winter. So I do have some experience in the snow pushing the streets for them. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The car is just, why start with an E36 to go this far off the deep end with it?
So we came here in 2017, and I had a naturally aspirated E92 M3, V8 M3, and I knew I needed turbos, and I knew just this is how I do it.
I also know I need turbos. I've never run the race yet, but
It's not a secret, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was.
I mean, yeah, you really
you figure
need
it out real fast.
Sitting there on those straights, it's just, especially real quick, because the GT4 is like a momentum car.
Right.
So when you do inevitably screw up, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And you got
if it
25
drops below
seconds,
$4,000, you got nothing.
and you got 25 seconds before there's a first gear corner, and so
Right.
you're just like, oh.
It's painful. Lots of time to think about it, right?
Yeah.
I better bounce.
Okay.
I gotta go.
Have a good race, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We'll
Thanks.
see you afterwards.
Thanks for being here.
Have
fun. Be
See
safe.
you afterwards.
Enjoy
All right,
those
man.
rain
Best of
tires.
luck. Thanks.
Okay, wait. So, how did you end up with this E36? You started with a 92.
Started with a naturally aspirated car, and I'm pretty good about going down the rabbit hole. As a Bimmerworld owner, and we deal with lots of race car builds and race car
Turns
customers.
out you have access to parts.
We have access to parts, but I tell all of our customers, like, let's plan this thing out. Let's know where we're going, so we only spend money once and do it once the right way.
How often do you listen to that advice?
I listen to it none for myself, as it turns out. So we knew we were going to build this car, and the first Bimmerworld race car was an E36, and so I thought, okay, it's my favorite BMW chassis. It's kind of an homage to what we do as a company. So we started E36, and then every year we knew we weren't going to make it because the build just got bigger and bigger. We were like, oh, well, now we have time to do this, and then we didn't make it. Well, now we have time to do this. So that's how we got here.
Yeah. Is there any real E36 left under there?
Man, I have door handles, I have door strikers, I have tail lights. I did have roundels, but we had to replace those with decals this year.
So body panels now are carbon.
It's full carbon.
It is the Huna Pegasus of BMWs.
It's full carbon. When you asked how much is left, and he started with handles, I thought you were going to say quarter panel somewhere. No.
No, that's why I started with door handles. That wasn't a teaser.
Do you everything on that car? Do you sell at Bimmerworld? Could someone build that car themselves?
Man, nobody wants to build this car. This is a one-off. We have all the molds, we have all the templates. We could do it, but nobody wants to do this.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of
Very
the other cool BMW here, this E30,
Yes.
is I think present company excluded, and my apologies. The E30 that's here might be my favorite car here because it's also very far from an E30, and yet it's totally an E30. It's got a dual clutch out of an M3. The engine's knocked back like half a foot. It's got a monster turbo on it. It looks so squirrely all the time.
And it's amazing.
So gnarly.
So that's Tim Hardy's car, and Tim Hardy and his group of guys. The coolest thing to me about that is, this race spans so many people, teams, things. Tim Hardy is a Colorado Springs guy or close to it. He built that thing himself. You look at the wing, he made that wing. He made the carbon on that car.
Yeah.
He built that in his garage, and I'm so proud of him for doing it because it is a monster.
They had
so
to figure out.
cool.
He was saying that he's done this 9 times. He did it in the beginning with that E30 when it was basically stock but had wider tires, 5-speed. Up to 2020, it still had the 5-speed when he started adding power.
Right.
But then he fabricated the way they mated the transmission to the engine. He had to get a part, but then change the part. He did it himself. And what's so rad about Pikes Peak is you have people like him next to people like this, next to people like the prototypes, and everyone's kind of doing the same thing. And it's just a really cool event. I think.
Yeah,
it's really
and I love the vibe around here because everybody just wants everybody else to have success.
Yeah.
because it's you versus the mountain. It's not you necessarily versus this car.
I mean, we'd like to beat some cars. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, you're right. It's against the mountain, and you always want the best for your competitor. You just want to do well yourself.
You want to do better than AMG World, right?
Exactly, that's right, and maybe Porsche World.
Is there an AMG representation here at all? I haven't seen any
I don't
AMG
think so.
representation.
I don't believe so. No.
No, they got to step their game up. Porsche Colorado Springs really owns this joint.
They're at real estate meetings.
Really. Yeah, no, I mean, what's weird to me is that given the enthusiasm and like vibe for this event, that like we haven't been able to do more hill climbs. Like we just, it's not expanded to like a national hill climbing culture.
But I'll tell you, man, I never thought I'd be a racer. Like growing up as a kid, that was I thought it was cool. I remember on TV when I was a kid watching IMSA races back in the day, and I remember watching the hill climb, Wide World of Sports. And, it's just iconic. This event is totally iconic.
Yeah.
And, I think that's why it is kind of the thing. I mean, there's other hill climbs for sure, but there is nothing, I think, in the world like this one.
Yeah.
Well, this road is so gnarly. I mean, it's almost, I said it in another show, but it's almost like looking at the city of Monaco and going, I know, Grand Prix racing. Looking at this mountain and go, yeah, I know, let's race this motherfucker.
Right.
It almost doesn't make sense because it's so gnarly.
Right.
And it's so long.
Mm-hmm.
Hill climbs are usually a minute. Goodwood, what is it, a minute and 30?
Right.
Or not even. Isn't Goodwood like 40-something
very short.
seconds?
Yeah, it's
That's
super
like a
short.
demonstration. Have you done Mount Washington or any of the other
I
ones?
haven't. No,
Okay.
I don't aspire to be a hill climber. This is the only one I come to, and I don't know why I come here.
Well, yeah, why do you come here?
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, Optima batteries. So when I got fired off on this whole thing, in 2017, they asked me what are the most iconic motorsports events in the world, and I started thinking about U.S. events, and they're like, no, world. But even though this is in the U.S., I think this truly ranks up there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were going to follow up with, okay, now we should do that, and so we do that, and that's why I'm here.
Optima's good people. I like their red tops. The red tops are fire.
Yeah, yellow tops in my car because you never
Why the
know when
yellow
you.
top?
Because if I have, that thing does have a lot of electronics. We suck like 300 amps,
Yeah.
and if I have a problem with an alternator or wiring or something like that, I have enough juice in the battery to get me to the top.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So you could actually finish the race on battery.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
you needed to. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you need a jump, we have some extra.
Yeah.
You have the coolest EV setup. This is the best purpose I've ever seen for one of these vehicles.
This truck is not. It's not a perfect automobile. It has a few drawbacks, but as a vehicle for people like us to have at an event like this, I don't think there's anything better.
Yeah.
This thing rules.
Dude, the front is like an awning. We don't have any
I know,
rain
we have a
coming
whole
down on our
studio.
gear.
This is great.
It's awesome.
All we have to do is like walk up, open the thing, and like we're recording. It's raining. Like
Yeah.
it's great.
This is so good.
Well, James, have a great race.
Thanks, guys.
Stay safe
Be
out
careful.
there. Put the reins on, I think.
Oh, there goes Dio Sahara.
I didn't realize that. Here's something I didn't know about Pikes Peak is that people who have done this before put fucking sirens on their cars to drive through the crowd to get to the start line.
Yes.
It's like the fourth car I've seen with a siren
Well,
on it.
the electric cars are required to make a sound.
Oh, so make a fun sound.
So 2 years ago, one of the cars we were covering, I won't name them, they didn't put a siren on. The text said, "You need a fucking siren." So they had to tape the horn. So the whole run was a Tesla Model 3 honking the horn. Yeah.
That's nice. Be prepared, people.
Read the
All
book.
right.
Read the rule book.
Thank you, James. Appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Bimmerworld.com.
it.
Get your
Thank
BMW
you.
parts. Zach and I are both E46 owners, so we will need
Proud of you
many.
guys.
A lot of
So proud of you
We will
guys.
need many. We'll be back. The race was, just as we were sitting in the traffic going up to the start line, the fog was so thick.
Visibility was very bad at
horrible.
the lower end. I mean, it was, you could maybe see to the next turn, and the next turn being 200 feet away. Like
Yeah.
when I was at the start line waiting for Rod Millen to come by, he was parked like
Like at
200 feet from me,
yeah.
and I could not see him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The in-car video that we've watched from various people, it looks so sketchy.
Yeah.
Memorizing the course was more important than ever because you literally couldn't drive what you saw. Like if you were driving what you were seeing, you were going 30.
Yeah, I watched Randy Pope's in car, and the word he used that really stuck with me was survival. He was like, I knew I wasn't going to set any records.
Yeah.
So it was just about surviving and he was going quick.
Yeah.
But the lower section was foggy, the upper section was raining, and also cloudy. And then you have the concerns. There's snow on the side of the road. I mean, it must have been very intimidating.
Yeah. Even in the pit, in the pits it was wet. In the pits, it was really foggy and windy. The wind it was like being in a cloud. I mean, the pits are at 9,400 feet or 9,500 feet. And so it's, I can just imagine, and I'm sure I said this on at least one of their shows, having practiced for several days in the sun and in clear weather, only to show up and have it be a total like whiteout. Basically, what's it? Is it? Well, a whiteout is snow, right? Could a whiteout just be fog? Is that
I don't
a gray
know.
out? What is that?
I'm not sure.
It's an out.
It
fucking
was out. You
out.
couldn't see. You could not
It was
see.
blind as a motherfucker. Can you pull up the race results?
That's what I'm getting right now. Yeah.
The second car to go. I mean, the first car to go was a pace car, right? It was a Tesla Model S like pace car, and I don't know who was driving it. But right after that, the next guy to go was Levi Shirley in this like basically an off-road.
So it's an
buggy.
Ultra 4 buggy, yeah, that he had just
put road tires
roadish tires on.
And this motherfucker, very first run up the hill, had the run of the day. I mean, like the run of the day by far, because he rolled it at Engineer's Corner, and I've seen the in-car video. It's on Levi Shirley's Instagram. We could probably play that video. It was wild as hell. He just gets to, I think it's Engineer's Corner, right?
Yep.
Gets to Engineer's Corner, clearly can't see. Corner really sneaks up on him, gets understeer, rolls the car. I mean, you could see in this
And
video.
so for context, this corner...
Are we sharing this video? Can we play it?
Yeah. This corner is known for a place where noobs crash a lot. And it's a weird thing because when you're taking a tour of the mountain, you go, well, it's not tighter than any other corner here. But what I think Tanner Faust explained is that you're coming off of this flowing section that's one of the fastest sections in the entire mountain. The lower section is where people make a lot of their speed. And then if you don't see, the trigger, as James calls it, you don't know where you are, and you're going real fast.
So the visibility here is like 100 feet. It's not good. This corner sneaks up on him real quick, understeer off the road, rolls into the woods, and isn't even stopped for half a second. As soon as he lands on the wheels, he's back in gear, drives it out, and then finishes the race.
It's the most off-road racing thing I've ever seen.
It's so
boss.
gnarly. Like
he's going fast.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's a hairpin, locks him up, rolls over, lands on the wheels, and just right back on the road.
Back out. He's not even off the course. I don't think it cost him more than 3 or 4 seconds.
That's a good point. Let's go back. Let's count.
How many seconds does this
amazing.
crash cost him?
Because he's going like 100.
From here, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,005, 1,006, 1,007, 1,008. 8 seconds, he's back on the tarmac.
Jeez. And getting after it. I mean, he did the whole rest of the thing, like at speed. Look, he just rips a tear off on his goggle.
And there he goes.
He's just going. And if you watch the rest of his in-car, it's not easy and it's not slow.
Yeah.
It's so badass.
That's the run of the year. I mean, he wasn't the fastest, but that is the fucking run of the year.
I mean, I know I've told you this. I ran into Jeff Swart like very soon after that, and his eyes got big, and he went, "Never seen that before."
Yeah.
I mean, he's been there for 30 years,
Yeah.
and he had this face of like, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we spoke to David Donner. They was trying to break the production car record, and production. I may have confused in a previous show. Production doesn't necessarily mean 100% stock. There are a few changes you can make, and they told us what those changes were later. So you take out the regular seats. Right, and you have to put in a roll cage. So there's that. You are allowed to run race gas and an appropriate tune for that. Mm-hmm. So this car, which was a 992 Turbo S, it was stock hardware, but you could fiddle with the computers. So so what I was told, and this is like within the rules, like right, it had a 100 octane tune. And it was running race gas. So that's good. Even on a completely stock car, that's good for like 80 horsepower. Yeah. And then also some Porsche Motorsport guys could fiddle with the traction control system a little bit and make it go more off than it normally can go.
Wow.
Apparently even on the street car, it's full off isn't like full off. And so they reprogrammed it for full off. Like there's certain things like the yaw control that you can't turn fully off. With the stability control
going on for a long time.
So they were able to do that. But still, okay, 100 octane tune and a fully off traction control system in an otherwise stock car on street tires is second overall. And obviously he didn't break the production car record because the visibility and the
it was wet.
It just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
He was like 20. Well, the production car record I think was 10:06, and he did a 10:34. So okay, fine. Conditions, as Joey Seeley told us, the biggest competition is the mountain, right? The weather in the mountain,
and the conditions with this, it made any all-wheel drive vehicle immediately have a big advantage. That's something that they had talked about anyway. But when we're looking at the times right now, like Reese, Millen, and Joey's car ran a 10:52, which is a rear-wheel drive car, rear-wheel drive only. And Donner was all-wheel drive. Robin Shute.
David Donahue was driving a GT2 RS Club Sport modified, and David Donner was a second faster than him in a stock 9. You know what I mean?
It's crazy, right?
And these are both very good drivers. Like on any given day, one of those drivers could beat the other one. Like I think they're, in terms of experience and skill level, they're basically on the same. It's not like, oh, one of these drivers is way better than the other one. They're both amazing. It was like that all-wheel drive system, the rear steer of the 992 with the hairpins, like it just helps you get that traction down.
Absolutely.
So
and something we
better.
talked with like James and other people is that having front-wheel drive motors in addition to rears, like getting around those hairpins, you're not laying all the power, laying big black tire marks. You're getting out of the hole.
Yeah,
it helps a ton.
Robin Shute won overall with a 1009. He was driving like a LMP car, basically.
Right. Yeah, like
it was
a roofless LMP
It was
car.
a Wolf something that had a Mountoon-based engine in it. His run is crazy. He's got a lot of experience. He had a lot of very talented engineers helping work on the car. But fundamentally, it was like, it looks like if you took the front of an Indy car and mated it to the back of an LMP2 car.
Yeah.
Like it's actually open wheel at the front with a big wing, like an Indy car from 10 years ago. And then after the radiator pods on the side, it's got a filled in rear end like an LMP car. So it's like halfway between the two. Crazy fast. And also, if you watch, Robin Schute's in-car video, which I saw on Instagram, he obviously knows that road very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was driving way beyond the visibility.
Yeah, he was demonstrating it. He was driving it like a road course.
Yeah.
Like you just know where the corners are, which is a road course. If you do 100 laps, okay, you can do 100 laps in a day.
Yeah.
You could, and to do 100 laps at Pikes Peak means you probably have to go 30 times because these guys don't get to practice the full course ever.
Yeah.
Ever. They got to stitch it all together. So to have that kind of knowledge is so impressive.
Yeah.
And his footage, like this term gets thrown around, but like it looks sped up. It really, looks like, how are you going this fast in this kind of blind condition?
Yeah. It's real crazy. And then so he fucking took it home, and well deserved. But let's go back to the results. Cody Vaschultz, fourth overall, was the super home built sketchy looking thing.
Yeah.
It really, really gnarly looking.
Yeah.
Looked like a death trap. It was basically just a bunch of tubes and a twin turbo V8 in the back. And this was a guy who used to race motorcycles until they wouldn't let him anymore.
Right.
They canceled the motorcycle class. So if you pull up pictures of Cody Vaschultz, it's mostly motorcycles. There's a photo of the.
I think that's the.
Oh, there's a better photo, bottom left corner. It looks almost like a sprint car, like a sprint midget car, but like. It looks like the kind of thing you'd see racing on an oval in fucking Alabama, basically.
Yeah, it kind of does. Huge wing.
With like a real old school air cleaner just sticking out of the top.
Yeah. Just round air cleaner.
Looks like it's right out of the 70s or something. Very low tech.
Very. And when they were moving that car around, it was on truck tires, and it just looks strange. But it was just the way they would move it around before they drop it onto the street tires.
Yeah. Super fast, very hairy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Very, very hairy. Go back to
manual shift, too.
Yeah. What else? Reese didn't do as well as they had hoped, but that was really conditions driven. And also, apparently, he woke up on race day feeling really ill.
Sick.
Yeah. He might have had COVID. Like, I don't know.
He had something where he sat in the trailer until it was right before his time to drive. Like, we didn't see him in the pit at all for 6 hours.
Yeah. And Rod Millen, Zwart did really well in his 935 turbo, Porsche 935. A little bit behind Reese. 8 seconds off of Reese. Jeff's in his 70s. Jeff,
6 seconds off. And
and Reese had a faster car.
Yeah.
Jeff had a stock. It was a 935, so it's not slow, but it's a stock vehicle. It's based on a road car. Reese's car was a heavily modified race car. And then of course Rod Millen with his crazy Tacoma.
Dude, he put up a fucking time.
He put up 11:06
Amazing.
running on wastegate boost. The lowest amount of boost and his video when we were watching it live there, he was moving.
Yeah.
I think in some of the sections, the hairpins and stuff, he wasn't getting out of them, kind of like some of the other more powerful cars were. But on the straightaways and the inertia sections, like, he was flying.
Dude, because I think that car, it's a 4-cylinder. It's like a 2.1 liter that makes 1,000 horsepower in full boost. So he had a little bit of lag, and you could hear it. But when he left the start line, it's a rolling start, and it's on a curve, which is weird, but whatever. He went through that section faster than anyone I had seen all day. I'd been standing down there for like an hour, and I was like, what? He was not going, oh, this is just an exhibition. I'm here to show these people this car again. He went after it, and there's a really cool clip on his Instagram, and I think Larry Chen's, of him coming into Glen Cove, and he touches the paint with a wheel and just gets a
massive
wiggle,
oversteer.
Gets a little oversteer, but it's at 110 miles an hour with people on either side of the road, and he catches it, and then just. He rails up the mountain through the snow and everything. Amazing.
It was awesome to see him go, and he was only 12 seconds off of Reese, but I think he was actually quicker than Reese in a couple of sections.
Yeah. Reese said it was pretty cool that his dad was quicker in sections I think like 1 and 3 or something.
And the 2 BMWs, James Clay, who we talked to just a little bit ago, in the E36, like super heavily modified, and then Tim Hardy in that wild E30 that was one of our favorite cars.
Yeah.
They were only 2/10 apart.
That's awesome.
From finishing, and it.
That's really surprising.
I would have expected. Tim Hardy must be an incredible driver. I would have expected, if you just looked at the two cars, that there was more than 0.2 of a second performance between them.
Yes. I don't know how much power Tim's making, but
750.
750. So James said they're making like 1,200 at the wheel. It's a twin turbo V8, full carbon body. Crazy aero, and then Tim Harding is E30, also aggressive aero with a
dual clutch
and turbocharged.
Yeah. But also like
amazing.
It might not just be power and weight. It could also be visibility. It could be a variety of other things.
Yeah, I don't know when the two of them ran or how far apart they were, but I know Tim's done this 9 times.
I think James said 4.
4? Yeah. So, there's so many factors with this. So many variables. Like, it's just amazing. As an event, it is crazy.
It was, and our friend James Robinson, who gave us a tour of the mountain, had mechanical issues with his car and unfortunately was not able to race. His brother Nick, in a more stock NSX, did 11:14. James's car had much more aero on it and probably would have gone 10 or 15 seconds faster than that. But the stock NSX with Nick Robinson did 11:14. Jonny did a 13 something. Our friend Cam Ingram won that class.
Yeah.
Rob Holland in the GT4 RS did go back up. Where was he? He did 11:58. 11:48. Excuse me. and Cam Ingram finished first in his class, that Porsche trophy, the GT4 class, 11:22. So actually, Cam Ingram and Rob Holland, who was an amazing driver, had 100 horsepower on Cam Ingram with the GT4 RS, and Cam had him by 26 seconds. Cam is a very good driver, very quick, and didn't just win his class. He smoked his class. Cam Ingram in a GT4 Club Sport, which is a stock GT4 powertrain, beat Randy in a 1,000 horsepower Tesla by 2 seconds.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
That's pretty big. How far ahead was the next?
Did you watch Randy's in-car?
Wait, I saw the section where he go down. I want to see the next, how much he beat the next Porsche by. Keep going till you see Porsche. 12:55 was Lonnie Unser. So go 12:55. Lonnie Unser was second in class.
And then this guy also ran the Porsche, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, that's third.
Okay.
Yeah, so go back up. 12:55 is second in class, and Cam did 11:20.
So a minute and a half.
A minute and a half difference in the same car.
That's a big deal.
In an 11-minute race, a minute and a half is a fuck ton.
10%, yeah.
That's a fuck ton. And those cars all ran together. So it's not like they were running different times a day.
They ran back to back to back to back to
yeah.
back. Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Cam was fucking bonsaiing that shit.
I want to watch his in-car video. That's very impressive.
I didn't realize how much he had won by. That's a lot. I mean, even Jonny said that Cam was 20 seconds faster than him in a section in qualifying, but a minute and a half in those conditions is a ton.
I think I bet that highlights the knowledge too, because he's done this 3 times, and Lonnie and Johnny is their first time.
Yeah.
I think Giles is their first time. It should be said that Randy Popes had to slow down and loosen his belts to wipe off his windshield at one point, and and he knew he wasn't going to win it. He was going quick, but then at that point he slowed down to 15.
If you can't see, I mean,
if you're literally wiping the windshield with your hand, you're going 5/10.
You're not going to win anymore.
Yeah.
No, Randy could have gone faster if he could see, but that's what, like Joey said, it's you versus the mountain. If it's your turn to have the shit kicked out of you by the mountain, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
it's just there's nothing you can do there.
I mean, in a way, it's a bummer. I'm so happy that all of our friends did it, and they did. Everyone was safe, and everyone on the mountain was safe in general. But it is a bummer that everyone we kind of got. I got really invested all week with how much effort our friends had put into this. Whether it was Johnny and Cam, who just showed up and drove, but they did a lot of training, or Joey and Reese, who built and developed the whole car, or Batim with the Huna Pegasus. It's a fuck ton of work to get to this place, and you have one day, one shot, and if the weather doesn't cooperate or something else goes wrong, it's you gotta wait a year.
It's and how shitty it was getting to the fucking mountain. It took us 2 hours to go 16 miles, which, being from LA, we're more used to that than most.
We got calluses for that.
And thank God for fucking radar cruise in the F-150 Lightning.
And that it was electric. I didn't feel bad going. Stop
dude.
and go with a V8.
Oh, it would have been awful. I mean, that's where one of the places that electric cars are just so much nicer. If you've got to do that stop and go, it's so much nicer. And if you're just sitting there, you don't have the vibrations of the engine and all that kind of shit. It was just smooth. And shout out to BBI and Ken, who obviously didn't need their pit spot, but were willing to give it to us and assign it to us, because if we didn't have that pit spot, we would not have been able to get the content for the show that we're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, so for people like Musto, he said he parked a mile down the road. So the general population that shows up, there are some premier parking spots in lots.
Super expensive.
Very expensive.
And they're in the woods.
Lots they're in the woods. And you still have to walk a little ways. And then everybody else, they just parallel park on the side of the road in the forest, kind of. And credit to the fans that went. People just put on their rain shit, carried their chairs, and they walked a mile or more and stayed most of the day. It was pretty busy. It was a pretty full event. And because of the
fog, there was no helicopter video either. There's usually helicopter coverage. So the stream and the screens that we were watching in the pits were just not great because they were only the fixed cameras. They weren't the at some point there was a red flag or something, and during the red flag they were able to shuttle some other cameramen up the hill and they got some additional angles. But like normally there's a helicopter and
there is, but it's not live broadcast helicopter.
Oh, it's
I think
not?
I had that wrong. I was talking to JF and they're saying like they can't live broadcast from the helicopter down to stream.
Oh,
It's
really?
just like the cost involved with whatever the tower is.
Oh, I thought
crazy.
they could.
Well, no, they capture the helicopter so that they can then give or sell that footage to various documentary teams later.
Joey was like, am I going to get my helicopter fee back?
Should.
Like, he
I'm
should,
sure,
right?
yeah.
Because he said the it's like $3,000.
Yeah.
It's thousands of dollars to get that helicopter
Yeah.
footage.
When we did the doc, we bought 6
Yeah.
cars worth.
Yeah.
And we met that guy that was doing like the 30 for 30 doc. Like, I feel bad for them because the assets they're going to get are going to look, one, very different from practice days, but
Right.
two, like they don't have the helicopter coverage either.
Yeah.
Covering that mountain is really hard.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic. Like it's in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell service. There's no infrastructure. You know, what are you going to run up cables a mile up the hill? Like I don't even know if you could do that. They do?
The cameras that were being broadcast to that big screen, I heard were cables. Wow. So they ran
miles of cables.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's impressive.
I guess they do.
But to your point, that's why there's 5 angles, not 17.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like an NFL game where it's like go to 2, go to 7, go to B. You know.
It's just there's too much coverage, too much area to cover, and it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I really enjoyed our week. It was really interesting and fun, and the fact that so many of our friends were there, both racers and engineers and journalists were all there. It was a great social experience as well. Met a lot of fans. They were all very nice, and the lightning was like perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it was actually like it couldn't have been more perfect for the thing that we needed to do that week.
Yeah.
It's
perfect, absolutely perfect vehicle for the tasks that we had and that we created.
Yeah.
You know, the cooking we created and that we had to do podcasts. It was perfect.
Yeah. I could not have asked for a better, more appropriate vehicle for those series of tasks. And the first episode of that is already up. People seem to enjoy it, so I hope it's the kind of thing we can do again in the future. It's hard. They don't really make it. It's not anyone's fault, but if you've never been before, even if they tell you what's going on, there's a lot of like insidery lingo and knowledge, and so you don't really know where to go to see the stuff the best. You know, and what time you need to be there, and like what the lines really look like, and that kind of shit. And everything that happens so fucking early in the morning. It's like you have to get used to your day being 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., which is just really hard.
But then also eat dinner at 6.
But
so it's a weird thing.
Yeah, and there's all your friends there, so you want to like drink and shit. But like if you do, you're just fucked.
I've been exhausted for 2 days since we got back. I'm starting to feel normal now.
I know.
You know, the recovery is interesting.
I feel very unhealthy, even though I went to the gym every day while we were there.
Great.
I still feel very unhealthy.
What I think is really cool about the event is the access fans have, kind of like FD, where if you get a ticket, you can just walk around the pit. I mean, it's no like, oh, this is VIP pit and this is other thing. It's just like, it's kind of grassroots. So it's just like people have easy ups and that's it. Like there's the biggest trailer was like the Bilstein one and the Optima one, but otherwise people would have to drop their cars.
Well, it's interesting
and
that you can't have
down.
a trailer, like because of the hairpins on the mountain and the fact that there's practice paddocks all the way up the hill.
Right.
Whatever trailer you bring has to be able to make it up the mountain.
Yeah.
So that's why people bring like ramp trucks and rollbacks or these like converted box trucks instead of like their normal 48-foot race hauler, where you literally couldn't make the hairpins. Like there's a limit to the size of your trailer. So even if you're a very well-funded, high-end team, you're not going to show up with a giant transporter. Like it just doesn't work. So you have to have something small.
Yeah, I think everyone just had single car trailers.
Yeah.
Or the ramp truck like Zwart has.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, it's just cool because it's so accessible. And like, you know, you can't go to the start line, but if you just walk on the outside fence, you can walk past it. And like, and you're not breaking the rules. There's just, they only want a certain number of people at the actual start line because it can get very crowded, and that's for the race teams. But you can basically walk anywhere you want and just I don't know, be smart about where you stand, but you can get really cool vantage points.
Yeah, it's really, really neat event. So thank you to all the Pikes Peak yellow vests and organizers that allowed us to do the things that we needed to do, get where we needed to get, and see what we needed to see. All the racers and engineers and everyone that got on the mic with us and helped us make some interesting content. And I hope to be back. We have a couple questions, about 5,
real quick,
from our Pikes Peak stuff. Let's see. Prashan says, in general, are Pikes Peak cars set up for understeer or oversteer?
It was hard to judge, but I saw like Cody Vaschholz and some of the people driving cars like that in the wet. The cars were understeering, so him and he was fixing the cornering with oversteer. So he's in the hairpins, he's stabbing throttle and going into drifts on a lot of corners. So I think it just depends on the conditions, you know.
I mean, I think they're set up for max grip.
Yeah,
honestly. I mean, and if it's dry out, it's just all about keeping the tires stuck to the ground. I think the more professional the driver, the more they want it set up for oversteer versus understeer. But I didn't look that carefully. Obviously, Levi Strauss understeered into off of engineer's quarter.
Laid on the brakes in the wet. That's what's going to happen to you. Yeah.
But I saw other drivers where the back end was sliding all over the place. I mean, so it was. You know, a lot of these cars have so much power that it doesn't even matter if how they're set up. 1,200 horsepower. Yeah, you're gonna get the back loose straight up.
I mean, didn't David Donner say he was lighting up all 4 in the dry with all-wheel drive and practice days? Yeah. So.
James Cowley said the McMurdy electric fan car at Goodwood was super wild. How long until we see a fan car up Pikes Peak? Better question might be, how would a fan car be effective at high altitudes? I plan to talk about the McMurdy thing on the next cruise show, which is on my list. But in general, you know, the wings, as we talked about with some of the other drivers, the wings have to be very, very pronounced because the air is so much thinner. So any type of aerodynamics that work effectively at regular elevations have to be extremely enlarged to work up there. So I don't know how big a fan you need to create. A lot of these racers were not necessarily talking about their under tray designs. They have giant front wings and giant rear wings and giant diffusers, where I'm sure a flat under tray helps, but you need more than that. So I don't know how big a fan you would need to be effective at that type of altitude, but it would have to be 3 or 4 times the size of whatever you're using at sea level.
Yeah, the efficiency drops by, I'm sure there's a mathematical formula, but it's going to either have to spin faster or have steeper blades or whatever. So I don't know how it would work at 9,000 to 14,000 feet.
Yeah.
But I hope we hear that answer one day.
I'd like to ask someone who's an expert in aerodynamics how altitude might affect fan cars, but it would have to be if the fan itself is 12 inches wide, to work at sea level, it would have to look like a fucking airboat. Maybe. It would have to be gigantic.
Or it's just going to be, it's not going to make the same downforce. It's because at sea level, that thing's making, I don't know, let's call it 4,000 pounds static.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be doing that. So the driver has to get used to that, which would be an interesting thing to adjust.
Yeah. Andy in Colorado, how funny is it that a stock 2022 Turbo S came in second overall? I mean, it's hilarious. When we were there, I was like, where's Porsche to make a commercial about this?
Oh, they will.
I mean, they probably will. There'll probably be a print ad at the very least. But we've said it. We've driven it. I mean, that Turbo S lightweight that we drove is bananas fast. And in conditions that are less than ideal, the technology that car offers versus an even more powerful and lighter race car, that technology works. The rear steer, the torque vectoring, the all-wheel drive, the dual clutch gearbox, like that shit works. It's not bullshit.
Right.
Was it Donner? I forget if it was Donner or one of the other guys we were talking to. They were like, dude, if you showed up with this 2022 Turbo S at the 1995 24 Hours of Le Mans, you could probably win outright. You know, like you could probably win the GT class
the overall.
in this stock car. You know, it's because we were talking about McLaren F1s or something, and they were like, yeah, this, you know, those things they're fast, but you know, the fast today, you know, street car fast today compared to street car fast from 25 or 30 years ago, you could probably win outright 24 Hours of Le Mans with a car like this. Today with no other modifications. It's just insane the amount of performance that's available to the general public.
Right.
Let's see. Pierce Gallio, I can't read it from here. I think it's Gallo. Given the somewhat forced nature of the name Hunapegasus, agreed. What do you think of Travis Pastrana's Family Huckster Subaru GL?
So good.
It's not a bad name. I like that name. I think it's a pretty good name.
And
it's a play on, for those of you who don't know, the Family Truckster, which is from National Lampoon's Vacation. I think it's a good name.
And the car is awesome. And he ran
really
speed,
fast
and
at Goodwood.
Did he get second or fourth? Like
it was top five
yeah.
for sure. And it looked quick too.
Yeah, and
like the video looked really quick. It's got some really neat active aero elements that, like, when he hits the brakes, there's like 4 different things that pop up like airplane flaps to create drag.
Right. Oh, here we go. And speaking of setup for oversteer, it is set up for oversteer. If you watch his lap, it's just such great like rally style drifting, and it flies and screams, and it's such a cool project, man.
Yeah, I don't think that name is forced at all. I think that's a fun name.
Totally, it makes great sense.
Yeah, it's a very cool. Yeah, the flaps are all up there. I mean, how much do you think those work? Do you think those work?
I don't think.
I don't know if
I'm
they
not an
do.
engineer, but I doubt they do very much. But
they look
they're
fucking cool.
I don't know. Are they pneumatic or do they just flip up when you hit the brakes?
They flip up when you hit. Oh no, it's not. They don't just like gravity pop forward.
So
no, they're pushed. They are pushed up. Yeah.
I mean, it probably does something. But
speaking of active aero, I saw the Instagram video I sent you of the Zenvo wing.
Yeah.
Remember I forget what show we had. Was it with the racing drivers? At Hypercar Invitational.
Yep.
We had a discussion with the racing drivers about the tilting Zenvo wing that leans into the corner to add downforce, which seemed like it would work well during sweepers, but none of the racing drivers were quite convinced that it would actually work. And someone just sent me a video. Here's a photo of it tilting. Someone just sent me a video on Instagram of a Zenvo getting some oversteer along and then countersteer and recovery, and they did not have a crash. I believe it was from Goodwood.
Yep.
They didn't have a crash. The driver got it back together, but it was very obvious the wing did not keep up.
Yeah.
The wing could not make the moves fast enough to benefit a countersteer recovery emergency maneuver.
And also, like, let's say it's based on steering, right? So you're turning left and the wing leans left so that it shoves more downforce into that outside the right tires. But if you have to countersteer back to the right, if it reacted as quickly as your hands did, well, then suddenly it's pushing grip to the left.
Yeah.
And that, like, it just seems like it would be really confusing. And that's what the drivers were talking about.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want this thing changing the dynamic of the car in a way that I'm not expecting.
Right, yeah. So it seemed like it couldn't keep up to an emergency situation.
It's a weird idea.
Was there anything else there with the questions? Last one, Aiden Squires. How crazy is it that Ralph Murdoch is 82 years old and still racing in the Pikes Peak Hill Climb? I mean, dude, it's interesting because this race is a combination of speed and reflexes and skill, but also experience.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 82 years old and it's his first time, yeah, that's fucking nuts. But if he's 82 and he's done it 25 or 30 times, the experience probably benefits him. I mean, Jeff Swart is an elder gentleman. He's not like old, but he's in his 70s. Rod Millen, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are guys who've been doing it for a while that really enjoy it and keep it up into their 70s and in this case 80s. So I think experience, adds to it. And it's not like you're racing wheel to wheel where someone's going to crash into you and, potentially yes, it's risky. You could crash, you could get hurt, but it's not as risky and dangerous as if you were racing wheel to wheel and someone could send you into a barrier at 150 miles an hour,
It'd be cool to ask one of the drivers, like, especially someone who's done it for maybe 20 years, like, where is that convergence point where your bravery as you get older tends to go down and your reaction times go down, but maybe the knowledge continues to go up. So which one is more beneficial? Like they say, like a 20-year-old F1 driver is probably quicker because they have no fear and their reactions are super, super quick. But maybe if you're 82, you're like, well, I know where every little pebble is on this road. And so you can just string a perfect run together.
Yeah. It's cool. So that concludes our Pikes Peak coverage. I hope 3 episodes wasn't too many. I hope we were able to keep it interesting for 3 episodes worth of content. Unfortunately, from a financial perspective, it's not worth us getting on a plane and getting hotels and going somewhere for just one show. We do have to do more than one show to make it worthwhile, but I hope we were able to get enough of a cross-section of drivers and content and experiences for you guys to find it interesting. Let us know if you did. Let us know if maybe it was a little too much, so we can try and refine the formula. And thanks to Ford for giving us a Lightning. We'll have a review of it next week. Even though we liked it very much, that doesn't make it perfect. There were certainly a couple of things that we found in our review to criticize about it. We're not doing a commercial over here. We still review cars, and that's our show. See you guys next time. Bye.